Last week in the gym, I was having a conversation with one of my friends. I invited him to church, and someone in the gym overheard this conversation. Now, you need to know that there are a lot of gay men in my gym, and when I talk about seminary and God in general, or Jesus in particular, I get some very interesting looks. I'm used to it. The church as a whole has not been exactly friendly toward gay folk, and many are still very skeptical and very cynical. Add to that there's a little bit of history with some of the men in my gym, and my new path really kind of has people confused. So, this particular morning, as I was about to leave, the man who overheard me stopped me and in a very shaky voice said, "Did I hear you say you're in seminary?" I said, "Yes." I said, "It can't work." He said, "That's United Methodist, right?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do you intend to be a United Methodist pastor?" I kind of laughed and I said, "No, I attend Virginia Highlands Church. We're affiliated with the Alliance of Baptists, the United Church of Christ." And then at about that moment, the man had his bag over his left hand, and I noticed he had a wedding band on. He saw me looking, and at that point he said to me, "I've been married for 20 years. In the last 2, I have been miserable. I attend a very conservative church. I am having a great deal of difficulty, and I don't know what to do. I'm wondering if I can talk to you sometime about this whole gay and Christian thing." In that moment, something inside of my heart broke. A river of love poured through me as though some dam had burst, and this torrent of love was ripping up everything in its path. All of the pain, all of the denials by the church, all of the suffering, every "you're not good enough," every "you're damaged goods," each "you're not lovable," and every doubt about my call was washed away as my heart split open and the very hand of God touched parts of me that were crucified so long ago I had forgotten they were dead. What I experienced was a gentle, loving hand holding, with great care, this newly enlivened and still freshly scarred pieces. What I experienced was a gentle touch empowering me to speak my truth to someone who was hurting. I spoke love on behalf of the beloved. I spoke healing on behalf of the great healer. I was one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread, and if I dare use the E word, I was an evangelist. I was a witness, and not the kind with tracts, but the kind with truth. I told my truth. I got to give testimony, first-hand experience to the incredible life-giving, world-changing, death-defying, undeniable, totally unexplainable, yet very real power of God as talked about by Jesus over 2,000 years ago and as experienced by me during the darkest moments of my life. In that moment, I got to be that same Jesus who walked the streets of the Galilee telling his truth. And after all, isn't that how the story ends today? The guys in white say this same Jesus will come again. The speaker of truths, the healer of the broken, the forgiver of sins. I got to be that. I got to be Jesus because I spoke words of truth. I spoke words of healing, and I spoke words of forgiveness. And if you tell your truth, if you bear witness, if you choose to speak of your personal experiences with life, crucifixion, and resurrection, and ascension, then you, Anna, and Jan, and Barry, Margaret, and Jay, and all of you, you get to be Jesus to someone who might just need a little Jesus today. Not only as individuals, but as a community, we have a corporate truth to tell. As a faith body, as a church, we have experienced ups and downs. We have experienced life, crucifixion, resurrection, and ascension. We can take these experiences and we can testify. We can tell our corporate truth. And when members of our body feel unloved and unlovable, distraught and distracted, abused and abandoned, discriminated against and despairing, hurt and hungry, lonely, lost, battered, bruised, pressured, or powerless, we all can open our hearts and open our mouths to let the truth of God's amazing resurrection and ascension power forgive and heal, as Jesus forgave and healed. We as a body can nurture one another, we can live again, and we can rise above the things that want to tear us down. And this our story of taking a stand against prejudice and hate, this our story of being spurned, rejected, crucified for our stand, and this our story of the subsequent revivification of a scarred and very imperfect assembly that many people wanted to shut the doors on. This our story becomes a truth to tell. It becomes a testimony to other weary assemblies struggling to take stands and to speak the truth within for themselves and to people who do not have voices. We can and we must be Jesus to each other and to people outside of these walls. So I ask you today, people of the sea, you who are this community of faith we call Virginia Highlands Church, my friends, visitors, I ask you, will you tell your truth, your whole truth, and nothing but your truth? So help you God. In the name of the one who creates, calls, sustains, and empowers us to rise above and tell our truths, let the church say,